How's it going, everyone? It is Dark Ops here, bringing you a first look at Pragmata. The demo has just released for Steam following last night's Game Awards, and I just wanted to cover it a little bit because I thought it just looked really interesting, even when it was first unveiled, and now we got actual gameplay, and now we got the actual demo. So I just wanted to cover it on the channel because I think it seems really cool. And the demo is free on Steam right now. It will be coming to consoles later. So fortunately, I was able to play and get about 20 minutes worth of footage here. Now, the demo itself isn't that long. It's actually only about 20 minutes, so not too long after I recorded this, I did actually beat the demo. So unfortunately, it's not all that long, and we don't get to see a whole lot of what the game is actually about, unfortunately. But the actual gameplay and the basic mechanics are there, as well as some features that are explained will be expanded upon in the full release coming in April of next year. So I just want to cover a little bit of this, and really I think it's just because this is one of the most interesting new IPs I think that's going to be coming out soon. So it's something that Capcom seems to have been working on for a little bit, and it seems really interesting. I really do like the mechanics here, the hacking mechanics. It's a little bit finicky here, so the footage does look like I'm messing up a bit. I really had no idea what I was doing. I played this right after it was announced that it was going to be a demo, so this was about 2, 3 in the morning. So please excuse the footage here, and also the fact that I'm playing with PC controls, as for whatever reason I wasn't able to get the controllers to actually work here. So there is some things that might be a little bit buggy before the full demo releases for console. So if that does happen, I will play it on console to get better footage for you guys, because I know this isn't the best footage out there, but I do want to get it out there because I really had fun playing it. Really, it seems a bit of a combination between Resident Evil in the puzzle mechanics and maybe a little bit of Horizon Zero Dawn. It seems like a good hybrid between the two in that way. I really like the idea here because it does seem like they're building a lot on the third person perspective while also putting it into sci-fi. It gives me a lot of what Starfield should have been in those ways. The graphics here are great, and what I find surprising is that it runs really well. I know it's just a demo and it's really realistically only a fraction of the game, but it runs incredibly well on my PC. I've had no issues running it at 120 frames plus with no hiccups, no frame generation. It handles just like a champ on my PC with high to ultra high settings. So really, it is a great demo and showcase for what the game is going to be capable of once it's at release. And it also does give me hope for Resident Evil Requiem being a stable launch. So that's really just good signs all across the board in terms of performance and what I actually did experience playing this game. So let's actually talk about the game itself, right? It's very interesting in how they're presenting this because it doesn't seem like it's the first mission of the actual game, which I would expect it not to be, of course, so that's perfectly fine. It seems like it's a save hub. It seems like probably, I would say, the first beginning of the second act of the game, perhaps, or maybe one of the beginning missions, but definitely not the first mission, I would imagine. You play as Hugh and Diana. Now, what I really like about this dynamic is how it seems to just work even if it shouldn't. It's really adorable how they banter with each other because really it's Hugh essentially acting as her father figure while also having to rely on her to do any meaningful damage. As being part android, she seems to be able to hack and just be able to do things that you cannot, and you guys have to contact Earth. So you have to rely on her as much as she relies on you to actually do really anything. You use her to do damage while you explore as Hugh around the area. Now, there isn't a whole lot here lore-wise to really munch on, so I'm just going to definitively say with this sci-fi story that we're probably going to be returning to Earth and we're probably going to be contacting them as the beginning final mission. Not really the final mission, but your first goal really is going to be contacting Earth. But back to Hugh and Diana, I really like the dynamic, and I think it plays really well. I think that this is something Capcom does so well, is having a younger character, older character work together, especially, Claire and Sherry, Leon and Ada, I guess, if you want to put it that way. They really just seem to nail this dynamic of having that kind of protector. So I really want to see how this plays out in the full game, especially since we see more of Diana than we do of Hugh in a lot of the trailers. So I do wonder how that's going to play out since we only got about, maybe 20, 30 minutes of actual gameplay here. So that's nowhere close to the full game. So I do wonder how that's going to play out with the full game in mind. But I do like this dynamic, and I think it does really work here. And I especially like how the gameplay feels so smooth and natural. It feels like a little bit like Dead Space, like a Dead Space prequel, maybe spin-off. It feels really similar to Dead Space. I really like how it has that space aesthetic, futuristic sci-fi, while also having, those hacking mechanics. It does feel like a combination of those games and a lot of Horizon. I think there's going to be a lot of people who compare this to Horizon in that way. If you look between the footage, it looks very similar, but it plays a little bit differently. And I really like the gun system as well. Apparently, there are upgrades that you can access, which, as you can see, I pick up. There are some things that apparently you can use to upgrade your suit or upgrade your weapons. I don't know what they're going to be used for exactly, but I imagine there's going to be some upgrade system, as Capcom traditionally does. So there's not going to be anything missing there. We just don't have anything. Unfortunately, like I said, the demo is quite short, so there's not a whole lot to actually really see here. But what I will say is, again, the combat is very smooth, albeit it can be a bit overwhelming at times because you do have to manage hacking. You do have to manage the fact that you have to essentially repair your suit while you're running, as the button for it on PC anyway is Q. So you have to repair it while you're running, while trying to hover and multi-manage essentially mid-combat. So I think that's going to be a lot of what the game is really about, is managing while in combat. And that's a really interesting dynamic. I think it does work here. Maybe some people won't like it. Maybe some people will call it like a Horizon clone. I disagree. I think it plays really well. And I think Capcom has really done well to sell me over on this new IP. So I think that's really a lot of what this game and what this demo is trying to sell you on is, do you like this idea? Do you like this proof of concept? And I think they did it with a resounding success here. I think it really does play well. The combat feels smooth, picking out different guns that all serve specific purposes while you obviously have your base weapon that does very little damage without hacking, which a lot of the guns do as well. But hacking especially makes it significantly more useful as you use it for crit points. It does definitely feel like it's only serving as the base gun or starter weapon. You do have dedicated weapons, as you'll see. There are about, I think, 4 available in the demo. They may be about a similar amount or maybe a little bit more in the full game, but I would imagine there's going to be a ton of upgrades and ways to change how you play. But from what I was able to use, I only used about 4 weapon types. So they really have their own dedicated types and they have specific purposes, which I think is pretty cool. And they definitely have more uses than others. But I think for right now that the balancing is just right, just about right, because you do have specific ways to make them more useful with hacking. Like I said, with Diana, you can have her weaken them enough that the actual starting weapon is pretty good. But of course, you also have a shotgun-like weapon, which does massive damage at close range and does even more, of course, once you've hacked them. Or you have a net to keep them down, so it essentially paralyzes them. I think that's a really cool idea, and you can use it to get more hacking done while simultaneously dealing damage to the cores. For the boss types anyway, because there is a boss that you are able to play through in the actual demo, which I thought was really fun, and I really wished it would have included just a little more because I thought it was so much fun. And then the MO kind of just ends there, really. It doesn't really go any further than that. So there's not a whole ton past that major boss fight, though it does serve a really good purpose of showing you how they're going to be like in the future of the game. So in the trailer, when you do see some other boss types, that's likely how it's going to act, where you have to essentially hack out their weak spot, shoot it out with your weapon types. Again, it sounds very familiar to Horizon, so I do wonder how they're going to deviate from this a little bit, or if this is just going to be the pattern, and that's just how you're going to end up beating a lot of the bosses through the same method, but we'll have to wait and see. That's just a lot of what I saw through my first impressions of the game, because again, this is a very short demo that is available on Steam and coming to consoles later, maybe as an expanded demo. I'm really hoping that they expand this a bit, but that all being said, that's all I really have to say regarding the demo, because again, the demo is quite short, so there's not a whole lot to actually talk about here, but I really like the game. I really think Pragmata is going to be a great IP, assuming it launches in a similar state. I think Pragmata is going to be a really great game coming next year, along with all the other titles that have been announced, so I think it's just going to be a great early 2026. So let's take a look forward, and hopefully that this ends up being a great success, because I think it seems very, very fun, and quite a shame that it actually did get delayed until April, but that's just fine by me, because of course Requiem is coming out early next year alongside Pragmata, so we're going to have to play both of those games on the channel. But those are my thoughts on the demo. If you did enjoy, please hit that like button and subscribe. I could always use a new addition to the Dark Ops army. And if you enjoyed the demo, if you've played it yourself, let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts on Pragmata? Do you think it looks like an interesting IP, or are you not interested? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Dark Ops. I'll see you guys next time.